Tom Fisher, and he has agreed to stay with us this afternoon, and I think he's really going to do a good job in following up on our luncheon speaker. He has the task of keeping us all awake after that huge lunch we just had. Mr. Fisher is Director of Telecommunications for the Indian Health Service in Albuquerque, New Mexico. He has a degree in mathematics with minors in computer science and physics. He's been with the Indian Health Service for 25 years. He started as a computer programmer and has advanced through the ranks through computer system programs, telecommunications analysis, and for the last 5 years he's been the Director of Telecommunications. He's a part-time instructor at the University of New Mexico, as well as having his full-time job on the side. One thing that he did add just a second ago after Mr. Sanders' speech was that he is also involved in their networking project in New Mexico. So he's going to talk to us a little bit and bring us up to speed what's happening in New Mexico in terms of telecommunications and possibly some of the telemedicine. Mr. Fisher?
I don't think I can compete with Dr. Sanders. He did an outstanding job. I will try to interrelate what I do in the Indian Health Service. First of all, I made a slide and I used this as an introduction because I was able to actually get an image off of the piece of paper onto a slide, and I was impressed with myself and nothing else. In the Indian Health Service, the primary purpose is to provide health care to the American Indian. And they are located in at least 43 states, and we have over 400 health clinics. Throughout the United States. And our goal back in 1989 was to somehow hook up all of these sites into one network. We didn't totally understand at that time what we really meant by the network. All we wanted to do was make sure we would be able to get information to the doctors out there at the sites, as well as to the patients at the sites. So we came up with a strategy, and it's defined as our architecture of the network within the Indian Health Service. And it's to provide a total network architecture that presents a seamless interface with bandwidth on demand. And that word has really changed over the last 5 years. That will provide IHS users with the capability of sharing of medical data and imagery, and that was talked about during our previous talk. The sharing of administrative and financial data. In Indian Health Service, we do a lot of third-party billing, so we have to move the data around quite a bit. Also, the real-time access and retrieval of data. Our doctors out there now, as they come out of medical school, are used to using the computer, and in order to get them at the remote sites, we need to be able to provide them with access to information. Also, again, access to medical information and literature. And the final one, which on our original project was not there, was access to information superhighway. 3 years ago, TCP/IP or IP or internet was not ever discussed. All of a sudden, it has jumped up and is the biggest thing in the world right now. Everybody would like internet access. Before we started our project, we had instituted a slow-speed network. And if you can tell from here, it's off-center for one. All of us based on what they call point-to-point lines. As you can see, these lines out of Portland, you have to come in Albuquerque, and out of Albuquerque you have to go to our offices back east. There was a lot of politics in this network, as in all things. As an example, if Aberdeen here happened to unplug their piece of hardware in the Aberdeen area office, it would turn off all of Billings and also turn off up here in Bemidji. And I swear that they used to do it on purpose. Well, if you turn off Portland up here, that turns Anchorage off, you know, and so area directors and all were arguing with me all the time. So what I had to get is design a network that would keep out of the politics of people turning off their equipment. So we went through and we provided some of the requirements of the network. But no site could be dependent on any other site. In other words, if I'm online somewhere, you can't turn me off. I'll be on forever. Access to any site, to any other site. So it's because Indian population, they move around quite a bit, and they are allowed to get their health care at any health facility in Indian Health Service. We have to move the patient's data record to follow them. Also, I wanted to be able to manage our network out of Albuquerque, and also to program all of the pads out there, or the actual hardware. I also wanted equipment I could upgrade on the future. I wanted also to support all the protocols of the Indian Health Service currently has. And in the Indian Health Service, they have a rule, I guess you would call it, is if you have a protocol, you will always have that protocol. You never get rid of something that's old, you keep everything. So I had to watch for that. Also, I wanted to make sure I could upgrade our equipment to faster speeds in the future and to other protocols. Right here was one that was coming, which was the one everybody's talking about right now is the TCP/IP protocol. Also, I wanted a cost-effective network. That's a term that's interesting because our costs keep going up each year. Our sites were basically categorized into 3 different areas. Well, we have 12 area offices in Indian Health Service. We use 3 very large computers. We have 2 control centers. We also have an office called Headquarters West in Albuquerque. Also, we have 189 high-volume health facilities. That's where there was 5,000 patients per year or more. Anything under that was called a low-volume health facility. Also, we had some of the tribal sites and also some of the state sites out of Alaska. Let's just give you an idea where we're headed real quick. So I went out in '89, and it took me, as you all know, or maybe all you don't know, in the government to buy anything is a challenge. It took me 2 years to get procurement on the street. I asked the vendors this time, I said, you tell me what is the best type of protocol and hardware to use that will let me do all the things I had asked for earlier. And they came right down and said, your best way is X.25, which is a protocol. It's very good for interactive data transfer. I also had other protocols in Health Service wide, and they said in the future you're going to need a router, but you also need an X.25 pad. So it isn't a pure router as everybody now talks about. It's an X.25 pad, it's also a frame pad, and it's also an X.25 router. We also want to make sure about our telephone companies. Now, all morning I've heard of the big companies out there who are putting down all the fiber and all of that. Where I get involved is as I come off of the big companies and are heading right towards the site, I need to get all the local telephone companies involved to help me get that piece of wire from fiber and into the hospital and then out of the hospital, or then in the hospital to the place where I have my hardware. It sounds easy to do. It's not as easy. I still have a few phone companies left which do not provide a digital service. I still have sites which keep telling me there's no more copper available, which means all of their lines are filled up. I also have a site which I just got put in 2 months ago at the bottom of the Grand Canyon. They have 2 lines. There's one for a fax and one for a phone. We finally got a 3rd line in which will handle X.25 data or our data transfer needs. Also, one of our big things was inside wiring. In hooking to a network, I have to come to the building, then you have to find a person who will run that wire from where it comes in the building to the location where I have my hardware. Inside the wiring costs a lot unless you do it yourself. All it really is pulling wire from one point to another, but to get people to do that was a real challenge. I also had to work under FTS 2000 contract, which means I'm in the government. I have to use, as a long-distance carrier, FTS 2000. All the orders have to be placed through us in Albuquerque. We have a whole lot of troubles when we place an order. It takes them 2 months sometimes in order to get that done. And the FTS 2000 contract was written in 1987, I believe it was. They never thought of speed on a network. Our FTS 2000 contract says I don't have to pass the data as fast as the hardware I've got, and I have to turn all of our hardware down in speed in order to use FTS 2000. So anyway, I put in a network, and basically, if you remember, any site is able to access any other site. If I put all 400 of the sites on the network on this map here, it looks like a blob of ink. So I took my 12 area offices and our offices in the headquarters east, which is located here, and the ones in the headquarters west, and I put them in a cloud, which means I go into the cloud and I can go to any other place in the country on my network, which is over 400 sites. That's why I drew the cloud. This cloud's been in operation for a while now. It's as of 1994, December, it was the status of the network. It is X.25. I still had to use the FTS 2000. I have access to all the sites. If a path goes down, it will automatically find a new path. I also use X.25 dial-up if it's a very small site. I'm using telematics equipment, and I've got to pay by the amount of data that goes over the network. Something happened when we put it in the network, and that was before we had the network, there didn't seem to be a requirement for much data. As we put it in, our data requirements kept going up and up and up, and they're still going up. People found out that, oh, I can now transmit a patient file over our network from point A to point B, and it'll be at the other site immediately, and that doctor at that end then can look at the patient information. So our network now is overloaded. Also, this new thing came up of internet access. And I have a game in the Indian Health Service where they say, I want internet access, and you go to their PC and you type an FTP command, and you go somewhere and you bring a file back. And I say, okay, you have internet access, I walk away. And they come back a little while later and say, but what about the pictures? Oh, you want an internet browser. That's what you really want. So that's kind of a game that they don't like people that get. Anyway, emerging technologies then, as we come along here, there is a new programming technologies. Our hardware can be upgraded and has been upgraded now. There is advances in the telecommunications arena. When I first put it in the network, only X.25 was available, and now I can go to frame relay. Also, we started talking on the telemedicine side, and also office automation and the electronic communications has really become big time. The one problem I have in the Indian Health Service is that I cannot dictate to a site what kind of email system that they have or office automation system that they have. They have to tell me, and I have to somehow make it hook together up with all the others, and that's been a real challenge lately. What were the people's expectations on the network? They wanted, as I had said earlier, bandwidth on demand. They wanted to go faster. And all of you remember probably when you first got your first modem, it was 1200 baud. I don't know how many of you had one of those. I thought it was the fastest thing I'd ever seen. Then we go to 24, then we go to 96, we go 14.4. 28.8 now is probably the highest that you're going to see on the dial-up modem. People who bring down images on our network want it to come up immediately, as fast as it can, even if it's not in relation to health data, which I have seen a few of those come by. Also, I need to bring our costs down. Right now, Indian Health Service-wide is spending $8 million a year on their voice data and video needs. I have to bring that down. Again, they wanted more internet access, all the graphics. They wanted to come down faster. Now we're talking also of the radiology. Also, as was said earlier, during lunchtime, of the desktop of the video conferencing, and also one thing that most people haven't talked about today is security of patient information on that network. If your patient information is out there, you don't want somebody who's not authorized to see it to be out there looking at it. And of course, our TCP/IP option or the access to the internet. So upgrading the network, I did it in all different ways. I added extra ports on the hardware, X.25. I brought up the speed on the network. Also, I changed our hardware, so now take frame relay. I upgraded all the sites to 384K so they could get all their pictures down. We started providing security on the network, and we also added capability at the low volume health facilities to upgrade their software without us having to be on site. And again, we provided access to the internet information superhighway. In security, the first time we put our network on internet, the first weekend, a 14-year-old boy came into our network and hacked us. He told us about it, and he turned our computer off for us, thank goodness, and then backed away, and it took him an hour and a half to do it. So we had to put up a firewall on our network, which I will go over in a minute. Also, we had to try to cut the other costs down of the network, which everybody is always after. They want high speed, but they don't want to have to pay for it. I changed our backbone to frame relay as opposed to what it was before X.25. I started using a non-FTS services within an area code in it. In other words, by law, if I'm only transmitting between two sites within an area code, I can use the local phone companies. We also started doing other partnerships with HHS and our video conferencing. We also are trying to partnership with other agencies, and believe me, that is a real political game. We're not doing very well on that. We're doing quite well on the tribal groups, and also we are now combining our voice data video onto the same lines. Some of the technical issues on the network as it was being upgraded. I actually got the people in the field out there to help me upgrade the hardware. I would sit on the phone, or my staff would sit on the phone and tell them, I want you to pull out the following boards and put these new boards in, and we'll be able to go. I opened up the packet sizes on our network. I also opened up the speed of the ports. Again, that using the local telephone companies. But I found out one thing, when you start doing internet access over X.25, it's really poor, pitifully poor. So that's where we had to go to frame relay. Then as we went into frame relay, our vendor forgot to tell us how to program it right, so we over-subscribe our network and had to go back and do that. We also had to design the circuits within the frame network. And we also had a great deal of trouble in the design of a backbone network. We didn't want anything to fail. Here's an example, and I'll be done soon here, getting behind schedule. Here's an example of using a local telephone company and the FTS 2000 in order to beat all the policies and everything. And this here is in the Billings area, and as I change area codes from here to here, I have to go into FTS 2000. So up here is the local telephone company. I go into FTS 2000 in order to go over to this part. So it's a way of saving 1/2 of the cost. That's a very busy slide. But anyway, just to complement our large staff in Albuquerque, there's only 2 people who take care of that whole network, and I'm not just one of those 2. I've been asked to stay out of it because I always screw it up, so they've asked me to stay away. I design it, they make it work. I have some slides here which are real technical. I'll just throw them up there, and if you want to talk about them after that, that's fine. This would take a long time to go through all of these. I know we are running a little bit overtime today. Here's what our backbone looks like now, and it's that's really too big. I would just take a piece of it. The slides aren't the same size. Yeah. Everywhere I needed at least 2 points out of an area. In other words, up in Alaska, I come down into Albuquerque. If it fails, I can come through at a slower speed line into Portland, and then go to Billings, and then come down to Albuquerque. So it's alternate pathing, and it has brought the cost way down. One other thing I'll talk about quickly before is security issues. We have 3 access points now into internet. At all 3 of those points, I had to put up what they call a firewall, which means nobody can get into the internet service and take any data or look at any data. I can put data outside of the firewall, and people can then access that data. And let me show you that firewall as a picture, which makes it a little easier to understand. This is a firewall. This is a pretty picture. It's probably way too big for the screen. I'll show you the top part up here. It is the firewall. If I'm outside on the internet here, then I can access any data that's located here, FTP server, or as they had talked about this morning, the World Wide Web. They cannot get past this point here. inside Indian Health Service, which is all of this over here, I can go out and access either one of these, or I can go out on the internet and access any information that's available. And there is a lot of information out there available. So that keeps all the hackers out of the Indian Health Service. And there's some smart people out there. I wish I were that smart. And they're only 12 years old, most of them. And then quickly I'll go over our projects that we're now doing in the Indian Health Service, just to give you an idea. Internet access, we've done that one. Finally got that one finished. We're doing a lot of the frame relay testing. We're also doing the teleradiology in between sites. And all a teleradiology is an X-ray file, which has been changed into digits and transferred over the line. It was going over a dial-up modems for a long time, and now it's been changed to over our network, and it's much faster. It used to take us 8 hours per image. Now it's down to 25 minutes per image. Also doing some of the studying in the client server arena. Doing a couple of interagency projects. One is the Navajo networking project. It's actually called the Electronic Village, and that's where Indian Health Service has a site, as does BIA, as does the school, the libraries, and all in the same town, and none of them are on internet. So we wanted to hook them all together and run out one T1 out to an internet provider. That's a lot of politics involved there. We're slowly getting that done. It's when you get into politics, it's hard to win. We also have a World Wide Web server, and at that address, if anybody's interested in it, you can go out there and look. We also have something that was talked about in our topic during the lunchtime, and that was information portal. What that is a PC on a doctor's desk which has icons in it. Then I can click on email, I can click internet, I can click and look at a patient at the other side via a camera, almost like the one you saw earlier. We're also working again on upgrading our speed of our lines, and we're working on email. Email in the Indian Health Service is tremendous. There's 5 different email systems. I have to read all 5 of them all the time, so we're trying to make them into one email system within each area at least. And we're also doing a project for distance learning, which has to do with using satellite downlinks in order to provide our remote doctors with the information that they need in order to keep going, as was described earlier in our earlier session. That's basically all I had. Is an overview of what we're doing in the IHS. Does anybody have any questions as we pursue our future direction, which has been always talked about? There's more of the telemedicine, teleradiology. There's more of the desktop, expanding the video conferencing, and the distance learning, and the bandwidth. They always want more bandwidth. All of this to be used as an enhancement of patient care of the American Indians and Alaska Natives. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions? If not, I'll turn it back to you. Thank you.
speaker. Grew up in Cushing, Oklahoma. He was educated at Oklahoma State University, one of us. Was employed for 10 years by Collins Radio Company in Dallas, Texas, in microwave telecommunications. He joined the Oklahoma State Regents for Higher Education in 1972 and has been instrumental in the development of the Educational Telecommunications Network and the OneNet system. So he's going to follow up on the talk that Ms. Bishop gave us this morning and let us know where OneNet is. His name is Keith Wright.
The Oklahoma State Regents have been in the telecommunications distance learning business for quite some time. As Anita mentioned, I joined the Regents in 1972, and that's about when the system began. You can probably tell by my gray hair that I've been there some time. The system predominantly until about 1988 was a terrestrial microwave system used exclusively for instructional television. It's a one-way video, two-way audio system. In the 1986-87 era, the Regents recognized the need to upgrade the network with digital technologies to allow for the transport of bibliographic database information, all kinds of computer programming between the different colleges and universities. As a result, we began upgrading the network in 1988. We installed fiber optics technology from Oklahoma City to Norman, connected to OU, and we extended a DS3 from OU on down to the southwestern part of the state of Oklahoma. That began our digital upgrade. At that time, we also, through a U.S. Sprint agreement for use of the Turner Turnpike right-of-way, obtained a DS3 from Oklahoma City to Tulsa. That formed our basic digital network that we began with. In about 1992, we further expanded the digital network with an extension of our own fiber facilities to Stillwater. The Stillwater fiber network employs an OC48. It's a 2.4 gigabit lightwave system. It's the latest, the greatest thing that's available, I guess, on the market. It provides 48 DS3s for transport of full motion video, broadcast video services to the satellite uplinks. We also provide some voice services, telephone type services, and we also provide very high-speed data networking currently for OneNet, which everyone I'm sure has heard of. The digital network basically is the yellow, the green, and then the dotted yellow line. That's our current OneNet digital network that we plan to expand and offer to this whole state. Again, the digital network is, get up where you can see a little better, is basically what you see here. The bond, or the voters of Oklahoma about 3 years ago voted a bond issue for higher education. I'm sure most of you may remember that. Part of the bond issue was $14 million for the enhancement of the telecommunications network that you see here. And the goal was to distribute the services of the network throughout the whole state. As a result, the OneNet plan was developed over, well, it's been 3 years now, and we're getting very close to being able to implement this. The OneNet plan is a combination of our own facilities that we currently have just described, plus leased DS3 services that we hope to obtain from the telecommunications industry. Again, utilizing the network that we have in place, plus extending our own fiber from Stillwater to Tulsa, or possibly from Oklahoma City to Tulsa. We plan to develop 2 major node sites, one in Oklahoma City and one in Tulsa. The leased lines then would hub into those nodes and provide a statewide, basically a statewide network. In each of these regional hub sites, we plan to extend instructional video services, up to 4 full motion video services, to extend initially to the higher education institutions where the hubs will be located. And eventually, as clusters develop, and there are some of those currently, I'm sure some of you may have heard, there's one in the Panhandle out here, there's one down in Grady County, I noticed George here. We have one developing in the Pot County area. So in areas where the clusters exist and the colleges are part of those clusters, then the video services will be offered to those clusters, the schools that are connected. I guess the thing that probably is of most interest to everyone is the data network, however, the OneNet and the internet services that we provide. Currently we have ATM services, 155 megabit services on the backbone between Norman and Stillwater. This creates a very high-speed backbone. We also have connected to that, just came up last Friday, as a matter of fact, a DS3, which is a 45 megabit link back to the internet. So we're positioning ourselves to provide very high bandwidth connectivity to people across the state on this network. We'll have routers at each of these remote hub sites that will tie in local schools, local state agencies, libraries, publicly funded entities within those areas. There'll also be some dial-in capabilities, although predominantly we expect the services to be dedicated leased line connections from these hubs to the schools. Some of the services that we plan, again, to provide on the network are voice for fax and administrative type voice traffic, telephony type traffic, plus, of course, the data, the video, and again, I don't have it up where you can see it very well. Video services, full motion and compressed video, by the way. We have really currently 2 video services that we operate, the full motion video network and the compressed video network, which the compressed video network is a 2-way, fully interactive system that's primarily driven by OSU. They're kind of the driving force behind that network. But we continue to offer that, and we'll continue along with the 2-way full motion video services. Again, I mentioned the bond money that was made available, the $14 million. This particular plan that's on the board right now has about an $8 million price tag, so there's a little money left on the table to further develop the network in terms of extending the remote hub sites on out into the community. So there's still some money available to do some additional things, which the legislative folks will probably help us decide how to do that. Of course, the thing that really has everyone's interest currently is the internet. OneNet we like to describe as a wide area network for Oklahoma to bring about more efficient operation of education primarily, but secondarily to state government as well. But connected to OneNet and the Oklahoma Wide Area Network is the internet, as I mentioned earlier, the 45 megabit link back to the worldwide internet. And that's where it seems like all the interest is these days. There's a the OneNet, again, a single network for the state, connecting all the schools, state agencies, and so forth into a ubiquitous network with the internet gateway. And what is the internet? It's a worldwide network of networks. Mr. Fisher mentioned a minute ago, that's what it seemed like his area of interest is developing as well. There's just an incredible amount of hype, I guess, more than anything, but it is a real network, and it is something that is a very valuable resource for education for anyone needing information just about on any subject. The internet began in the 70s as a project the Department of Defense linking computers primarily for defense and research activity, and since then it's grown to be a worldwide network connecting millions of computer systems together. Some of the statistics you can see there. This is probably outdated already. The state regents, you might wonder how we got into this in the first place. We, OU, OSU, and TU actually were the founding, or the original members of MidNet, which is a mid-region consortium of states that were the original internet for this part of the country. They came to us. Their system wasn't very reliable. They had individual lease lines that went back to the MidNet hub in Lincoln, and they wanted to up the speed, and they wanted to provide a more reliable connection. And they came to us since we had the digital network under development as a means of really saving some money and providing better service. We provided a single point of connection to the hub routers in Oklahoma City with T1 lines that connected to OU, TU, and OSU. And from that, then, it's grown now to serve. We have about 40 or so regional colleges, universities, hospitals, K through 12 schools. We have a number of state entities connected in. The internet places the expertise of thousands at your fingertips, accesses and exchanges information quickly between businesses, universities, and research facilities. It removes the physical barriers and time constraints from information transfer. The internet is now an important infrastructure. Some of the things that are available on the internet, in terms of the things that are available, Gopher, the Mosaic, the World Wide Web servers, Archie, listservers, CUCME, news readers, and of course Apple Search and the Apple Computer Communications. One of the things that a lot of folks are interested in is developing home pages, which is a way for institutions to let folks out on the internet know about you. And it's a good way to publicize your institution, your community. You can list on there services and things that are available at your institution that might be of interest to others. That's for those of you that are familiar with the internet are probably familiar with that. The news, weather, sports, interactive conversations, games, financial aid information, the library access, and that is, of course, one of the prime uses of the internet. We have connections, of course, to the Library of Congress. NASA is online. There's been recently some things done with the astronauts in space with some of the things they've done with on the internet. Additionally, one of the more popular offerings on the internet is electronic mail service. I use it every day. That's the only way my boss communicates with me almost, is through email. File transfer, you can download files from resident computers all over the world. You can buy supercomputer time over the internet. You can do remote logins for all kinds of computer applications. I know we're running a bit close on time. I would like to just jump into questions if anybody has questions about any of this. I know I ran into a couple of folks before the meeting started here, and I know from visiting with them that there's a lot of folks who have a lot of questions about all this, and I think I might do better at answering questions anyway. So, yeah. Go ahead.
Will the completion of one will that do away with the present ETN system or microwave line of sight? Is that what the plans are?
Yes, if you recall the map that I had up there originally, the microwave system that was installed back, in the early days of the network development will be replaced by the leased lines and the digital fiber optics and digital microwave lines. So while the the service will be maintained on the leased facilities, the analog system will be retired. That's the plan. Yes.
Do you know how many colleges and universities across the state have home pages operational set up?
I think nearly all of them do. She asked how many universities, colleges have home pages set up on the network, and I think they nearly all do have. The state Office of Finance maintains one for state government as well. It's online. Pardon me, yes.
In a meeting I was in at Everett just about a year or so ago, they talked about the infrastructure and getting it down and linking in all the other state agencies. Is the time frame behind that as you see it now with the funding that's available?
Well, as I mentioned, the money is there. It's just a matter of allocating it. Where it is right now, when the bond issue was passed and the money was earmarked for telecommunications, they created a committee, the State Data Processing and Telecommunications Committee. And that committee is, for about 2.5 years, labored this design and finally recommended the one net design that she had there a minute ago. Excuse me, I'm about to run out of voice here. And right now the plan is before the governor's office. There's one final step, a contingency review board that has to meet to actually appropriate the money. The contingency review board is made up of the governor, leadership in the House and the Senate. The governor, as you know, is fairly new in office, and he hasn't been a part of the planning and all that's been going on over the past 3 years. So he's asked for some additional financial information and some things that to support the one-net plan. We're gathering that information. They're very supportive. They just want to see some more financial data on it. I think within the next few weeks we'll probably get a meeting of the board, and I think the funds will be made available. At that time, we'll begin ordering equipment. We've got the specs are out on the street for the DS3 lines, for the fiber connections to Tulsa. We've already opened bids on some of the equipment, so we're ready to move into high gear as soon as the money's available. Yes?
What kind of quality audio and visual quality will we have with compressed video?
Well, the plan that we have on the books is not, it is compressed, although it's not compressed in the sense that you may think. It's for practical purposes, it's full motion video, two-way interactive full motion video. It's not the quarter T1 compressed video that you may have seen, although we will continue to offer that as part of the network services. Some areas of the state, we probably won't be able to get the high-speed data lines or DS3 lines connected to some of the schools and so forth. So we will maintain both networks, and they'll be gatewayed together so that they can interact between the full motion and the compressed video networks. Yes. From Tulsa, I was having a little trouble hearing you, sir.
One of the hub sites, they have a direct connection to the internet. We still have to go to the building.
Where are you currently?
Here.
Oh, you're here. Okay. Well, Okmulgee is one of the hubs, chosen to be one of the hub sites as part of the ONET plan. So that DS3 line will connect back to Tulsa. The hub location for our network will be at the University Center in Tulsa. And we already have a hub there, but we don't have all the leased lines into it. Our current connection there is through that Sprint line that I mentioned earlier. You will have a direct connection from here to Tulsa for video services and for the internet connections. Back in the back.
It would be helpful if you put that back up and finish that work. And tell us what's going to be owned by the state, what's going to be leased, who's going to pay for these funds, and what have you.
Okay, well, let me go back to the map here just a second. Okay, well, that's not the one I wanted to put up there just a second. Okay, everything you see on there with the dotted green lines is leased facilities through the local telephone companies. I noticed we have some of the phone people here, Southwestern Bell and probably others, but there is a bid out on the street right now for those services, and we expect to be opening those on the 31st of this month. So we'll know real soon about our lines and the cost associated with that. Did that answer your question?
Well, who would pay those lease costs? What is the bandwidth?
Those are DS3 lines, 45 megabits that support the 4 video circuits plus 4 T1 lines, which the T1 lines would be what carries the internet traffic. Who's going to pay for them? There is a study in process right now to determine fees that will be charged for the use of the network. A good bit of it will be borne by the higher education budget. However, the exact fees, that will be charged are still under study. I don't have a definitive answer for you on that. I'm sorry. Anybody else? Must be some other questions. A lot of people want to know, what do we need to get hooked up on this thing? We were talking to some folks from Bristol here a little earlier, while you're all eating lunch. We were in here visiting about the network, and one of their questions was, well, what does it take to get hooked up? Well, you need a local area network within your school is the appropriate, preferred way to do it, and you need to connect to that network, assuming it could be an Ethernet network, a router, which is a piece of equipment that we can provide for you from the contract that we have. You need the telecommunications lines, which you would get from Southwestern Bell or from whoever your local telephone company is, to connect you to one of the remote hub sites. At that hub site, you would connect to a router there, and this then would give you the data connections for the internet and OneNet access. For the video connections, the current plan on the boards, as I think I mentioned earlier, does not extend the video services beyond the hub sites currently. Now, that may be what some of that extra money is used for, but there just wasn't enough money in the $14 million to extend the video service. It was pretty expensive to extend those high bandwidth connections beyond those hub locations. But there is a little money left. There might be some pilot projects that are funded out of that money for extension of the video beyond the hubs. Currently, the video will not be extended beyond the local college. Yes.
I guess I just make a comment that I'm clarifying that cost increase now. $14 million that we use I think outside and also outside ESP lines. Two major hubs, that was the Tulsa, 232 outline outside, possibly some of the last mile lines too. A lot of money
Capital outlets. Yes. We expect that the fees hopefully will go down over time as the user base comes up. The fee structure the fees that we'd have to charge to meet expenses would go down naturally. This is not a for-profit type deal. Is that it? Okay.
Okay, I'm going to give you all an option at this point. What we have left are the providers. We have TCI, and we have Southwestern Bell, and we have Galaxy that are here to, basically what you've been hearing today is all of these things that are in telecommunications that are going to be available and all. We've got providers here that are going to give you some of the information about what you heard in Jay Sanders' presentation and different ones. You'll also get an opportunity to ask questions, and to some extent maybe, I know that Galaxy has a demo out here, so it's more of the hands-on portion. What I'd like to do right now is give you an option. Do you all want to take a break for a little bit, or seeing some nods? and maybe come back in about 10 minutes? Or do you want us to charge ahead and let you break us? Charge ahead. Okay. Well, okay. Let me go ahead and let Kent Roberson start introducing these people. Kent has been working more with them hand in hand and can tell you more about their presentation.
First we have Mr. Chuck Jones from Southwestern Bell, and he's the gentleman who went to the airport and picked up Dr. Sanders and brought him here to Okmulgee, and he's going to give us a little bit of follow-up on telemedicine and the provisions being made. And he's the telemedicine manager here in the state of Oklahoma.
Oh, can everyone hear me okay? I'm not real good at operating one of these things. I tend to leave behind and forget. First of all, Dr. Sanders asked me to extend his thanks to everyone here for the opportunity to speak here. He wished he could have stayed longer. His wife was anxious for him to come home with us. You might remember, I looked in the newspaper about the plane crash we had the other day. Well, Dr. Sanders was on that plane just before it crashed. He was making a trip between Georgia and Mississippi, and he was on the commuter aircraft with the same crew that went down. Fortunately, it happened the day before, and not afterwards. His wife was kind of anxious for him to get home. He's trying to get back as soon as he can. Before he left, he asked me to reinforce 3 points from his talk and expand on it. First thing he wanted to do was cover what's going on in Oklahoma today. He touched on a number of the items, but he didn't go into it in that much depth. Second thing was a statement he made about needs analysis. And I know the folks from the educational community can tie into that pretty well. Because a lot of the needs analysis of telecommunications is not that much different than needs analysis in education. Number 3, economic development. Even though we look at these as telemedicine systems, they're a lot more than that. They're distance education systems, and they are economic development. First, MD News this month featured a number of Oklahoma telemedicine systems. However, Dr. Sanders was so excited about it, he took my copy with him. So I don't have it here to show you, but if you get a chance to look at MD News. One, it features the Conowa mobile van, which is 2-way interactive video, diagnostics, the dermoscope, all the things he was talking about. And it's direct one-on-one. It puts you in the physician's office. What's important about it? It's first in the world. It's working. It's up. We're getting calls from all over the United States about it. The other day, I was in the van, and they were actually doing some diagnostics. They had an individual with a severe case of poison sumac. The doctor at the other end prescribed the anabolic steroids that are required. He was able to use a dermoscope, look at the pustulas, see the effect on the patient, adjust his medication. It's up, it's working, it's here in Oklahoma today. State of Texas is interested in copying it, as is the state of Georgia. We've had numerous requests from North Dakota, Arizona, and other locations. If we look at one of the major medical shows going on in the United States, TelMed, out in Anaheim, in October, I looked at the brochure and what do I see? Well, it features Dr. Jim Logan, Dr. Jay Sanders. Dr. Sanders, as you know, works in Oklahoma. Dr. Logan is based in Oklahoma. I flipped through it. Doug Weaver, CEO of Memorial Hospital Frederick. They have one of the most advanced telemedicine systems in the United States. It's more advanced than Dr. Sanders. The Comanche County Memorial Network, First Health West, which goes over the southwest part of the state, is one of the top, if not the top systems in the United States. Conowa is featured out there, Conowa, Oklahoma. With the mobile van, they're serving an underserved population of some 20,000 people. They hope to expand to another van and eventually reach 80,000 underserved people. If you haven't had a chance to see it, it's worth going to look at. They have 2 examination rooms, full interactive video. The physician's assistant, nurse practitioner are working one-on-one with the MD at the Commonwealth Clinic, and you can be examined. They have flex cams in there, dermoscopes, all kinds of the latest devices that Dr. Sanders was talking about. And a lot of those scopes right now, the data test is being done right here in Oklahoma. This is a test bed for the companies that are doing it. If I continue to flip over to this brochure, I see Gordon Rudd, Director of Telemedicine, St. Francis Hospital. Talking about the new St. Francis. It's exciting. It's innovative. I flip on down to MedWatch. About a full-time network in action. It's been up for about 18 months. Oklahoma Health Systems and the Baptist Network. You know, they've got over 50 locations on their network today. They're expanding into Missouri. 8 of their locations are full 2-way interactive video, and they're averaging 42 hours of use per video location per week. That's some pretty heavy utilization. We look on, and I see Mike LaPaula. I believe Mike's in the back of the room. Mike, if you could raise your hand. He's the director of the Telemedicine Center at the Osteopathic College. They have the first telemedicine training center in the nation. That's the home. They have 2-way interactive video. It's a training place for physicians. In the future, all the physicians that graduate from there will be trained on telemedicine. So there's a lot going on in Oklahoma. In fact, someone mentioned that the California show looked like an Oklahoma show. I thought that was quite noteworthy. We also have the OTN going, the Oklahoma Telemedicine Network, which will provide teleradiology services across the state to the rural areas. Dr. Sanders felt sometime this fall, Oklahoma will probably become the leading state in the nation in telemedicine. A lot of folks don't realize what's going on here. One of the examples, if I can find the power switch, right there, here. I want to just show you a piece of what First Health West looks like and all the services are provided. Cardiology, oncology, psychiatry, dermatology, pathology, rehab service, diabetes education, the list goes on. More important, they're providing a lot of other services that will lower health care. They handle admission, billing, inventory, ledger, laboratory results, the OTN, the teleradiology. They're driving the cost of radiology for reads way down. They also have cardiac monitoring, long-distance services. What's important about this? It's all being done on a T1. And they've got spare bandwidth with all these applications. Dr. Sanders' network in Georgia, it's all on T1s. He's got a lot of spare bandwidth. This brings us up to the second point he wanted to cover. He mentioned the needs analysis. Those in the educational arena, I know, are very familiar with it. They use it for curriculum development, for determining the courses they want to offer. Dr. Sanders wanted me to get the message across that you cannot underemphasize the needs analysis. Too many times, there's not enough research. People are just throwing technology at things. You need to really study and determine what your needs are. Just as when you buy a PC, you don't go out and pick a PC and decide what you're going to do with it. First, you get your applications down, and then you pick the machine to match your applications. You need to spend the time on the needs analysis. Sometimes people put in too much communications they can't use in the future. Sometimes it's just the opposite. I have one location I worked with a couple years ago here in Oklahoma. that wanted to put in 12 strands of fiber. I said, hey, we need to look at this. I don't think that's going to match your needs for the future. That's not enough. They said, oh, Chuck, it's fiber. It'll cover everything. Gosh, we're putting in 12 strands. Do you know how much we can run on it? I said, have you really studied it and looked at your data shop and what your data shop's planning to do? They put it in, they buried it, got it up and working. 18 months later, they're back. Wanting to put in more fiber. They didn't look at me. They didn't talk to all the players in the ballgame. More fiber was required. But a lot of times, just as on the First Health West one, you can do all of that, all of these services, with simple TV, and still have some spare capacity. Third thing, Dr. Sanders asked me to cover is economic development. We look at this as telemedicine. What is it really? It is economic development for the rural area. I have a place I spend a lot of time in up in northwest Oklahoma called Farm. A few years ago, we consolidated our schools to try to save them. So last year we lost our school. We don't have a high school up there. Previously it was combined called Carmen Tacoma. Now the kids are being bussed to Elm and other locations. We lost our medical care a few years ago. The Dairy Queen's closed now. I used to always stop there for lunch every day. They have a real good place to eat. Good salad bar. I like it. It used to be there were 3 grocery stores. There's 1 now. It used to be I could walk in at 10 o'clock things I needed for my weekend trips up there. I can't do it now. They're usually closed at 7, 7:30. Without the medical care, things start evaporating. People have to leave. Business won't come in without medical care. In my own case, I hit home last year. My mother had a severe stroke. She was down in southern Oklahoma. Owned her own home, been going to the same church for 40 years. Lots of friends. She had to come up and see a neurologist once a month. I had to take a day's vacation, drive to southern Oklahoma, pick her up, go up to Oklahoma City, see the neurologist. We're there 15 minutes usually. I drive her back. I drive back to Oklahoma City. I drove 540 miles. My mother was 83 years old. It was wore out. I lost a day's vacation. She would have rather we spent that day's vacation taking her grandkids fishing. Made her feel guilty that I had to use vacation. Eventually, it got to the point where I had to move her to Oklahoma City for medical care. I see that happen every day all over the state. People are moving to Oklahoma City and Tulsa for medical care. You know what? A little town, Frederick, Oklahoma. That's not happening. There's a lady there had a severe stroke. She requires speech therapy twice a week for it to be effective. There's a real problem getting her in. Frederick has a 2-way interactive video. The speech therapist has it. She's got about a 4 or 5 minute walk, which you can manage down to the hospital to get her. She gets her speech therapy at the Frederick Hospital. She doesn't have to travel. She doesn't have to go through the types of things that my mother went through. So these are some of the things that are going on in Oklahoma, and as the trade show shows, or it's going to show in 2 months out in Anaheim, California, Oklahoma is one of the leaders in this industry. Thank you.
Our next presentation is from TCI, and we have Kent Dahl here from the Tulsa office. He's got a wonderful video to show you, and just in case, I don't know if you're interested in this or not, but he was the only other Kent I knew as I grew up, and I think I was the only other Kent he knew as we grew up.
She's the only Kent I know now.
And I'm not typical since I'm female, Ken.
Thank you. Thank you for letting us join you today. If you do me one quick favor, everybody just stand up for just a second. Just stand up, move around just a bit, and then just go ahead and have a seat. While you're kind of stretching out there, I promise that I'm not going to speak to you in any acronyms. I'm not going to mention very much hardware at all, and I'm not going to talk to you in computerese. I don't understand that type of communications very well. I have a production background and not very well versed in computers. But what I am going to show you today, hopefully you'll be able to grab a hold of some exciting elements that cable television currently offers. Okay? Let me give you just a little bit of history. Approximately 80% of all the schools in the United States, public and private, have access to cable television through their media center or their libraries. And that's not just for MTV or VH1 or whatever that might be. Currently, through those services, through a service called Cable in the Classroom, teachers and students have access to over 500 hours of educational material per month that's delivered right to the classroom or the media center for free, copyrighted with lesson plans. So, yes ma'am, a month. And that's hard to believe, but that's a lot of material there. We offer cable in general, not just TCI, but cable in general offers another free service. It's a PC-based service where a PC is attached to a cable modem, and via the cable, this stream of information is brought into the PC all the time, and it allows students to access newspaper articles, apply keyword searches, stock quotes, and a lot of educators are using this with regard to social studies and that type of thing, so kids have an opportunity to stay current without, I don't want to read the paper, I'd rather look at the PC. That type of business. A lot of this is focused on elementary and secondary age school kids, so that's where we are currently, okay? The future. The Muskogee school system just selected a local cable provider, happens to be TCI, to supply their metropolitan area network that will tie all of their school buildings together and all of their administration services. We will then provide for them some voice applications, data, and video services so that they will be able to have a teacher at the high school talk to a class at the junior high school, which may be 5 minutes away or 3 miles away or what have you. But that's technology, that's hardware, that's connectivity, that's some pretty important stuff for progress. But let me show you just a little bit here about some exciting applications that we have. I'm going to show you a tape that's compiled of about 12 presentations that was done for the National Cable Television Association Convention in Dallas last May. We've cut this down to 4 presenters, 4 applications. There is one that will deal with PC interactivity. There's one that will deal with a distance learning. It's really distance learning via cable in a new generation of set-top boxes where I think I want to take that class, so I'm just going to take that class right now. It's not right here. You can't go buy that set right now, but it won't be very long before you'll be able to go buy that set with that set-top converter on it. There is an element in there with regard to internet access, and then there's a program that TCI's kind of adopted, which is staff development. All these educational tools are great, but teachers have to know how to use them so that they can teach the students. So that's another element. But this is a presentation that was done in Dallas for a number of senators, FCC staffers, and congresspeople by cable operators and cable program service providers. So if you'll just watch the monitors here, we'll get this started. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Please welcome the President of the National Cable Television Association, Decker Amstrom.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you for being at our seminar this afternoon, Cable, the Education Connection. This industry since 1989 has supported cable in the classroom. It's a nonprofit entity through which cable operators provide free connections to schools, linking them to the information highway, and through which cable program networks provide commercial-free programming to help teachers work in the classroom. On the average month, these cable networks provide 525 hours a month of commercial-free programming, free of charge for schools. And as a result of what our industry has done, more than 3 out of every 4 public and private elementary and secondary students in America have access to cable in the classroom. It's been a tremendous commitment by our industry. Let me tell you a little bit about what you're going to see today. First of all, you're going to see real services, not something that's on a drawing board, but real services that are being offered or tested in communities around this country. And secondly, all of these services are being delivered over cable facilities. Cable facilities which have high capacity, high speed, and are superior to the telephone company's transmission systems. That's our advertisement for the afternoon. What you're going to see today are distance learning applications, how we integrate computers and cable systems in classrooms, access to the high-speed internet, interactive television. Our next presentation comes from Ingenious, which offers a multimedia information database that is designed to be appealing to students primarily in classrooms. Some of the information that's provided through Ingenious supports the video programming made possible through cable in the classroom. And here to tell us more about it this afternoon is Jerry Bennington from Ingenious. Jerry?
What I want to talk about today is our newest product, What on Earth. It's a daily CD-ROM quality current events learning resource here today and a glimpse of what cable can do in the future. It's delivered over existing cable to computers across the country. After completing testing in 500 schools, this week we released the product for sale. It's affordable with a subscription rate of $100 per computer per year to schools and $150 in homes. But enough talking, let's take a look at it. Every day our editing team gets together in Denver and looks at the events of the world and says, what is there to learn? The story we want to focus on today is in the current edition, delivered to my house this morning, about locusts. You start out with a home page, stunning graphics, hypertext material. If you click on one of the colored words, you'll find a glossary word. It'll tell you a little bit about it. If my assistant here can find one. There we go. You can page forward in the product.
Did you know?
Progress at your own speed. Well, that wasn't where I wanted to go, but that'll work just fine. There are pop-ups built throughout it that combine sound, stills, and video. This is one section called Did You Know? It's written at 2 levels and includes integrated challenges that the students can follow to build on the text of the story to support learning. We're going to take a look at this one called Bug Out. And this is a plug-in module called In Your Face. You may remember Potato Man. You click on the Ready to Start. It'll begin to ask questions based on the context of the story. If you can get the right answer, he's been practicing. You can build a cowboy hat, would probably be pretty good. Oops, I guess we're going to go with the Norse hat. And you can add your name to it, you can print it out. This has been actually pretty compelling. This is for the 4 through 6 grade level. More extended learning activities for older kids. There are also lesson plans for the teacher and 6 stories produced every day. We got time here. Why don't you click back to the home page? I don't know where we are. Time. In addition, If we can hit the quick tour, if you think we've got time for it. Teachers don't have a lot of time in the K-12 environment. And one of the things you'd like to do is give them a quick start.
1995, we tell about
These are the 6 stories for today.
Reno's desire to keep guns out of school. She thinks she can and protect the Constitution. What is the Second Amendment and what rights does it protect? Pakistani carpet makers say they have lost about $10 million since the murder of a boy who protested child labor.
Notice the global rotation, you get a little geography lesson.
20 years after the end of the Vietnam War, Americans remember those who died. Write your own memorial for someone who has died. Australian farmers fear the worst, a plague of locusts. Locusts? Millions of bugs, like grasshoppers actually. Now, assemble your own locust. In New York City, a street is named to honor jazz great Duke Ellington. Learn the difference between major and minor chords. A Japanese-born pitcher becomes the first baseball player to leap to the U.S. Major Leagues. What's the difference between a curveball and a fastball? And there you have it, What on Earth's top stories from the week of May 5th, 1995.
One of the things that's very exciting about this interactive education that we're seeing is the ability literally to break down the walls of the classroom and to transport people all across the world into new information services and to new television services and to make education available literally everywhere for everyone. Certainly no one's been more committed to that than Glenn Jones, the founder of Jones Intercable and also the founder of Blind Extension University, whose objective really has been to make all the world a school. And that reality is now becoming true throughout the world. And to tell us more about Blind Extension University, Dr. Bernie Luskin. Bernie?
Thanks, Decker. John, I'm just picking up a controller because I'm going to do a little demo for you, partly because I'm an old school teacher. But the thing that we're talking about to some extent really is born-again television, if you talk about it two-way. All you have on the screen up here is what I have on my television set, and all I have on the top of my television set is a set-top box. So you can see me with my trusty little controller, and this is a graphical interface that we designed that could be used in a classroom. It would be the slide projector of the 21st century, or you can imagine me in my living room sitting down as a hot potato with my trusty controller in my hand. I might do whatever I wish here. So I'm controlling this, and I'm looking at it in the sense I have the whole world in my hands, and if I want to go look around in terms of this graphical interface, and I can look for reference information, I can take a credit course, I can get some enrichment materials. Let's look at the reference. As you can see, I'm just browsing through here. If I wanted to go to the Library of Congress and access the database, I could push my button and go to the global library and access the digital database. If I wanted to enter into the online service, because if you look at this little D here, I can guide information to my PC, or I can put it on my television set, or the new the Toshiba integrated multimedia player is a screen, is a display device which has both television and PC built into it. Or if I want to look something up, I could look it up in the encyclopedia, or as you can see, I can go to the dictionary. The time is short, so I'm not going to go to any of those, but I can look at another level here. Let's say I'm sitting in my living room and I'm on my couch and I don't want to go to reference anymore, but I have some time today and I want to take a lesson. So I'll go through another level in my interface, and I can take a lesson from Regis University, Kansas State, University of Maryland, University College, or my local high school or elementary school, doesn't matter. I'll just take a lesson from a course in ethics and religion from Regis University. If you want to get the sound of, well, actually I could take any of the others. I'll just go in and pull that up. Well, this happens to be one lesson from a bachelor's degree program course offered by Regis University, the degree completion program.
You've got all these...
Now, I'm in control of this, and this is obviously, time is very short, and I can stop it, and I can go back, and I'll do something else. But maybe I have a little more time, and I want to take a lesson in accounting. I haven't got time right now, because I only had 5 minutes to do this whole thing. So, at the moment, I'm going to go back and say, well, maybe there's something I want to take from University College, and I'm sitting on my couch, or I'm in my classroom, and I can use it as a demonstration. So I push my button, I go in. I can find out how to use the internet if I want to, or I can take a course in strategies for effective writing, or strategies for effective learning. So let me push my little button and go in here. Bring the sound up just slightly. Actually, I have the control here, but they're doing it behind there too. I'll show you just enough to understand what is going on. But I can follow this up lesson by lesson, and I'm totally in control of it. This happens to be strategies for effective learning. I can learn how to learn.
Mnemonics are memories.
Now, I'm in full control of this thing, so if I want to go to the refrigerator, I can pause. Or I can fast forward if I want to go somewhere else. And of course, if I was in the classroom, I might have something that I wanted to slow down. If I wanted to slow down, I could come up and I could have 7 speeds of slow motion. I mean, my only point is that I can freeze the picture, I can play it. I'm in full control of this, whether I'm in a classroom or I'm at home on my couch.
We know if you can develop the memory process in your brain as a sport, as a skill, as a talent, as a whole series of crayons, you're going to keep a healthier brain. The more you use it, the less you lose it. And the more we can use these things as an activated sport, the better.
Well, I think that's a good point. The more you use it, the less you lose it. I'll just show you one more quick fragment here, just to show you how in control I am, because I can do anything I want. And that's just a quick example of an education on-demand system based on a new multi-layered graphic interface where you can go to the library, get on the internet, take a course, take a lesson, and it's part of the two-way born-again television environment that's going to be on the band in the future. Thanks, Taker.
I'd like to introduce Bill Anderson from the Science Network, who's going to demonstrate the value of high-speed cable access to the internet. Bill?
Pervasive myth in the popular culture is that the much talked about information superhighway is something that's got to be built in the future, that its benefits can only be realized in some far off distant time. Many of the benefits of the information superhighway that are touted for the future can actually be delivered today. Delivered right now, this minute, to this room, no kidding. Today, not tomorrow, we can use our existing global information infrastructure for a generally better educated, more fulfilled, more entertained, more enriched life. This is not something we have to wait to enjoy, either as individuals or as a society. All we've got to do is act. To demonstrate this fact, I want to tell you exactly what you're about to see, because we're establishing a Shedwater historical precedent today. For the first time anywhere, we are distributing high-speed interactive data over a production cable television distribution plant. Coming into this room right now on TCI's normal production plant, utilizing on-off-ramp technology provided by Convergent Systems over TCI's live system here in Dallas. This technology is here today. It does not require digging up the neighborhood, delivering information approximately 600 times the capacity of standard telephone dial-up lines. This is not a smoke and mirrors demonstration or a special laboratory clean demo environment. The data you're seeing, or about to see, is literally coming in the channel right next to HBO. Why is this important? As you've seen in the room today, the text-based information systems of the past have already given way to the multimedia data payloads, sound, graphics, moving pictures of the future. These large data files require high-speed service. As an example, let's take a closer look at one specific website. This is Project Wuhan. We can actually take students on a virtual reality field trip to a place they really can't go because it's under 175 feet of water of the Aswan Dam project in Egypt. They can visit bricks that are no longer there, see things that are no longer sun-bleached ruins but are rendered actually as they were seen thousands of years ago. All of this data was provided by the Boston Museum of Fine Art, was rendered into three-dimensional virtual reality photorealistically prepared graphics. This is a mastaba, and it's got an interesting story behind it about how these tools can be utilized not only in education but by professionals. When this was prepared, let's go on to the next image. When this was prepared, this is a close-up of the previous image we were just looking at. For 70 years, professional archaeologists have used a particular type of shorthand to copy down hieroglyphics. Unfortunately, part of that technique lost some of the detail. When this model was prepared, it was prepared from the actual field notes of digs that transpired over decades. Professional archaeologists saw this picture and saw the hieroglyphics and objected to it as not being accurate. We knew the data was accurate, so when the reconstruction was placed over the tracings, archaeologists for the first time in 70 years realized they were missing something in the context of this. The important part of this example is this was not an educational tool per se. It was a professional tool that has a massive educational implication. The web is full of these things.
Right now, I'm holding this piece of coaxial cable. Now, many people just call this, of course, well, that's cable television. And on your screen right now, you see that little tip of copper coming out the end. That is an amazing delivery device when you couple it in our hybrid system with a fiber backbone. Now, you've seen Jerry talk this morning about What on Earth and Ingenious and 525 hours of internet access. That's all coming out that little cable. What happens, though, when we hook that cable directly to the back of a desktop computer, which is now capable? We take this cable, hook it right into the top of the back of the computer here, excuse me, and let's go over and take a look at this screen right now, and I'll turn your television screen into my computer. Let's watch these 500 hours now come into the back of this computer. Now here we are, we have channel 22, which is C-SPAN, and now the tuner, this is a built-in television set. If I go to channel 23, I can choose C-SPAN number 2 by just clicking the mouse right here. I can increase the size of the screen. I can go up to this size. I can go up to a full screen. I can come back to a single screen. I can go check out the weather station by just entering number 30, hitting return. I can go down to CNN, find out what's going on here, and back to by just changing the channel that way. Now, what this allows students to do, watch how easy it is to capture off of live television. I come over here and click on freeze, and I can actually freeze her image and then say save. Now, remember the 525 hours, the commercial-free, copyright-clear? Teachers can now begin to capture this in their students and converge it onto a desktop environment, manipulate, work with it, build multimedia presentations, get their presentations just the way they want it, and then print it back to VCR tape and take it home and show mom and dad what they built at school today using these cable-delivered resources. Now, I'm going to cancel out of here. If I can show you very quickly, let's go to the Weather Channel and see if we can pick up. Watch how I click on record. And now I'm going to click stop. And basically what I've done now is I've transferred information from the Weather Channel into a QuickTime movie, digitized it, and I'll play it. Now do you see how that works? Now that allows us, again, to put motion into those multimedia applications that students build and construct at school. Now, another way that cable is really leading the way, let me just show you this particular, right now I'm going to change video sources, and you can get a picture of this. This is a television camera. I'm going to take a picture of you taking a picture of me. And let me hold my hand, if I can, right behind. You see the size of that color television camera? This is on a flexible snorkel tube right here, connected to the back of this computer, that allows us to hook to other computers on a high-speed cable backbone that will allow us to work collaboratively in other locations. Can you imagine having a document sit on your desktop, a word processing document, having 6 or 7 people in different locations around the country, working, correcting, collaborating, looking at each other, talking about this, editing their document, and then distributing it to each other when it's all done. They didn't even have to get on the airplane and transport each other to a location. They could do it all with these technologies that we have right here. So it's amazing. I wanted to give you an opportunity to see what it means when we start taking cable into the back of computers. And we started showing teachers the convergence of computer networks and now video networks in the classroom.
Thank you all very much. Thanks for joining us.
All right. we have one last presentation, but I'm going to go ahead and make a few announcements because this presentation will involve a demo that's outside. One thing we would like from you, if possible before you leave, if you would fill out the evaluation form, that would give us some guidance in the agenda that we put together and the presenters that we've used. If you want to, you can just leave them on the table, or you can hand them to Kent or myself before you leave. The other thing is, we've had several people that have asked us about different organizations that we've talked about today, the Oklahoma Distance Learning Association. If any of you would like any more information about that, you might just leave your card with us and maybe write something on the back of it. That or the coalition that we have, the Telecommunications Coalition here in the local area, if you'd like to be a part of it or learn more about it or learn what we're trying to do, just leave us your card and request information. The other thing, we've had some requests. We have just put together an interactive video classroom on campus, and we are waiting for the OneNet access. So we have several of our faculty that have been practicing in that classroom. It's over on the other side of our campus, and if any of you would like to go over and look at it, we can probably do some type of demo with maybe one of our faculty members or Kent or myself. So we'll be kind of out in the lobby area after the Galaxy presentation, and if some of you would like to go over and look at it, we'll be glad to take you over there. Okay, at this time, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our last speaker/provider for the day. Randy Meyer is with Galaxy Star Systems, and he's going to come up and talk with you, and then we'll go out the hallway for a demo. Thank you for attending today.
Good afternoon. Y'all about had it with settings? We're going to do a quick demo about Galaxy Star Systems. As soon as we can get it set up. Galaxy Star Systems is an internet access service provider here in Oklahoma. We offer Galaxy Star Systems is an internet service provider here in Oklahoma. We provide dial-up connectivity services for homes, schools, businesses. We set up providers, other providers. Some of our services are, I don't know how many of you, there's been a lot of talk today about internet, but how much you know about it, what a Telnet account is, and FTP. Let's cover a couple of these. A Telnet account is a lot like a DOS prompt for a Unix-based system, where you can get information from any source, from any computer. You could dial into Galaxy Star Systems, retrieve your email, do IRC chats, which are internet relay chats, which splits the screen, and you can be in a chat room, a lot like America Online, with a multitude of people from anywhere in the world. FTP is a file transfer protocol that allows you to download software back and forth across the internet. Internet Resource Chat is IRC. That's as I said, a chat group which covers a multitude of topics. Voice Phone is a voice interactive duplex, half duplex, not full duplex as of yet, which means it's not you can't hold a conversation across the internet continually. It's kind of like a ham radio. One person talks, then the other one talks back, but you can do that connectivity right now across the internet. There are some companies that are coming out with full duplex, which would be live conversations toll-free across the internet. A Gopher server is a lot like a text-based search server. where file and documents are kept. We hold email accounts, obviously. A shell account is basically a telnet account. A lot of service providers are getting away from the shell accounts because they don't want you to have that access or tie up time on their server. We are opening up the full array of the internet service. We have www, which is synonymous for the World Wide Web on the internet. Links, which is a text-based browser for the internet, not a graphical user interface. 15 megabytes of file space we provide for every user. We have 5,000 news feeds, which news feeds are basically different news links on all types of different discussion areas on subject matter. We offer SLIP and PPP accounts, which are basically a high-end connection for your system, so you can run the World Wide Web. We're up and operational 24 hours a day right now. We give you some free options with this. We give you personal World Wide Web pages, free color scanning for graphics to create your own World Wide Web pages, FTP file server access and video training tapes, and software. In the software, we give you Netscape, which is it's a lot easier to explain when we're looking at it. Is a graphical user interface, a lot like a Windows-based interface for the computer, so you can just point and click and jump anywhere in the world. Adora Email, which is an email package for your system. FTP and Archie. FTP is a file transfer protocol, or in other words, how you transfer files from one system to another. Archie is a search engine where if you wanted to look up any type of subject or look for a file, you could do an Archie search for it. Trumpet is your connectivity software to let your PC talk to the internet. Internet resource chat, that comes along with it. Who is if you want to know who a person was, like Microsoft.com and who the owner was and where the location was, you type in who is on the internet and it would come back with a listing on who it is. Gopher is as Minnesota, a lot of the big universities have Gopher servers, which are basically text-based information servers. Text files, downloadable fact sheets, and the news service. We give you news software that allows you to log into up to 14,000 different news services at one time. We have Tulsa area accounts. We have the hourly accounts, which are $12.95 per month. Includes 15 hours of online usage. Anything over 15 hours is 2 cents a minute. It's all the features, full featured 24-hour access, as long as you don't go over your 15 hours. Tulsa monthly access, individual or a company, is unlimited attended access, and what that means is that we have a lot of people that will dial in and they'll call us back in 15 minutes after they've walked away from their system and ask us how come they're kicked off. There's a 15-minute timeout on all the systems that allows you to log in, use it, interact with it, but if there's no action taken in 15 minutes, it automatically logs it out, so it opens that link up for another person. We have student educator accounts for all students or educators. It's $25. It's the same as the unlimited account or the commercial account, only it's $25 a month, half price. We do have private line access. We can go up to T1 or DS3, which is a fiber optics link. We connect schools, businesses, international. We do set up internet providers. If anybody wants to become an internet provider or want internet services for their school or their business, they can contact us and we'll set them up. And we have a live demo outside. We have internet setup. The best way to look at it is to interact with it. Thank you for your time, and that's it.